GamingBolt presents 16 games with incredible artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can make or break a video game. That's no exaggeration. Good AI can elevate an average game to an excellent one, while at the same time, bad AI can turn a great concept into a poorly executed mess. Immersion, challenge, thrill, enjoyment, atmosphere, there are so many things that are dependent on a game's AI, which is why when we say that AI is perhaps one of the most important aspects of any modern video game, you know we're not being hyperbolic. Just like anything else in the video games industry though, there are some developers and video games that handle artificial intelligence much better than others. Here in this list, we've compiled what we feel are the 16 games with the best AI we've ever seen. As always, if in any way you disagree with our selections, let us know why that is via your comments below. Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain may have divided fans on a lot of issues, but the one thing it gets right without reservations is its artificial intelligence. You can never get too comfortable with a particular set of tactics while playing the Phantom Pain, because if you do the same thing again and again, your enemies will adapt to and take preventive measures specific to those things. And all those advantages you might think the game gives you in the form of, say, climate changes or the environment, your enemies are more than capable of using those things to their benefit just as well as you are. The Phantom Pain's excellent AI is a huge part of why the game has some of the most intense, engaging stealth action you'll ever see in a video game. The Last of Us. People often nitpick when it comes to The Last of Us's AI, but we feel that ultimately those criticisms are just that, nitpicks. From the terrifying encounters with clickers, to exhausting face-offs with runners, to tense skirmishes against human enemies, The Last of Us always keeps you right on the edge of your seat, and that's thanks to its excellent artificial intelligence just as much as it is to its incredible atmosphere. Whether it's during combat or while you're sneaking your way past them, your enemies in The Last of Us always act in the most realistic, most believable way possible, other than how they react to Ellie at times, in that they don't. Ellie herself, though, also has some excellent AI, adding even more points to the game in this area. SOULSBORNE series. We know it's a little unfair to include Demon Souls, Bloodborne, and all Dark Souls games as one title, especially considering the fact that technically they're not even a single series, but we feel like at this point in the series' life, we've moved past the debate of whether or not they should be clubbed together. Moving on, the Souls games are notorious for being some of the most difficult games you'll ever play, and that's thanks to some astoundingly amazing AI. Enemies move about unpredictably, and their attacks are rarely telegraphed, meaning that you always have to watch them closely. Add to that the fact that it's especially hard to take them by surprise with any kind of attack, and every single encounter in the Souls games, no matter how big or small, becomes a matter of life and death. KILLZONE 2. When the original KILLZONE came out in 2004, it was bashed by one and all for a number of reasons, and chief among them was that it had incredibly dull AI. Enemies were usually all too willing to run straight into your line of fire, and the game rarely ever challenged players in any way. KILLZONE 2 came out a few years down the line, and it did a complete 180. The artificial intelligence in KILLZONE 2 is some of the best you'll ever see in a shooter. Enemies are always looking to flank you, always looking to stay on the move, always looking for cover. You can never stay in one place for too long in KILLZONE 2, and you can be sure that your enemies won't either. Guerrilla Shooter is a thrilling, engaging experience, and its AI is a huge part of that. The Last Guardian. The relationship between Trico and the boy is the heart of The Last Guardian, and it is what drives the game forward in everything it does, from its game design to its narrative. It only makes sense then that Trico would have to act and be portrayed as a believable, living, and breathing character. And he mostly does. The giant lovable dog griffin thingy acts exactly as a pet would, sometimes stubborn, sometimes obedient, always adorable. And while this excessive realism often leads to some frustrating moments while you're playing the game, ultimately it's all for the better. Because ultimately, Trico's behavior makes him feel like an actual pet, a real companion, and helps the players become even more attached to this lovable character. Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation may have divided fans and critics, but there's no denying that when all its working elements came together, it made for a thrilling experience, one that knew how to scare the shit out of you almost just as well as the classic movies. And how, pray, was that possible? Thanks to its AI. The alien in Isolation was always around you, sneaking around through shafts and ducts, hiding in the shadows, stalking you, following you, always ready to pounce. You always have to be on your toes while playing Alien Isolation, and thanks to its incredible accomplishments with artificial intelligence, the game has the capability to provide you with some truly memorable, thrilling moments every so often. Fear. It's hard to understand at first glance just how good Fear's AI really is, but when you consider the fact that even now, 12 years since its release, there are hardly any shooters that boast of artificial intelligence as that in Fear, you start understanding a little better. Enemies in Fear really wanted to kill you, and they really wanted to avoid being killed. That may seem like a truly basic thing, but AI in most games is more than willing to stand in the same place and get hit by bullets, acting as nothing more than armies of clones. In Fear, enemies called for reinforcements, provided covering fire, hid in dark corners, reacted extremely well to the slightest hint of danger, and all while still being technically an army of clones. These seemingly small things all came together to make for one of the most immersive, engaging shooters at the time of its release that even today is a cut above most of its modern competitors. Max Payne 3. Max Payne 3 is one of those rare games where your enemies are almost always expert marksmen with terrifying aim and accuracy, and while often that can feel like cheating, ultimately it makes for a series of thrilling and challenging encounters, and that's not just down to the enemy's excellent accuracy. The AI in Max Payne 3 always seeks to adapt to how you are approaching an encounter. If you go in guns blazing, they'll immediately go on the defensive, taking cover and hiding and trying to come at you from several angles. However, stay in one place for too long and they'll come at you with frightening aggression. Even on the easiest difficult levels, Max Payne 3 can be a truly challenging game. Splinter Cell Conviction. The artificial intelligence in Splinter Cell Conviction may not have been as lifelike as, say, the Phantom Pain, and it may not have even been the most aggressive, but it was still pretty damn smart. Enemies in the game are always on the lookout for anything unusual in the environment through sight or through sound. If they catch even the slightest bit of movement in a dark corner, they make sure to check it out. If they hear anything that they feel is even slightly unusual, they go on the alert. It makes for some heart-pounding and tense stealth action that ranks among the best in not just series, but in the entire genre. Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is a genre-defining, generation-defining game. Hell, it's an industry-defining game. It stands to reason then that it would be a cut above almost all its competitors in everything it does, including artificial intelligence. And while the artificial intelligence isn't as groundbreaking or ahead of its time as, say, some of its physics engines were, it was still really good. Enemies in Half-Life 2 always reacted smartly to how you play, and different types of enemies always knew how to use their strengths against you as best as they could. They contributed a great deal in making encounters in Half-Life 2 as thrilling as they were, and if you've played it, you know that they were pretty damn thrilling. Halo Reach. Well, of course a Halo game was going to be in here, and what better game to represent the series than the incredible Halo Reach. With their last game in the series, Bungie set out to deliver their maximum in every aspect. They sought to overhaul the AI system, and happily enough, they were resoundingly successful. While the friendly AI in Reach is quite frankly annoying at best and terrible at worst, the enemy AI in the game is excellent. Enemies attack you in packs, using all sorts of tactics to smoke you out or outflank you, constantly throwing grenades at you. The elites especially hard to contend with. Try playing Halo Reach on Legendary difficulty just once. It's one of the most challenging and ultimately most rewarding experiences you'll ever have in a shooter. ARMA 3. ARMA 3 is of course considered to be one of the best games in the shooter genre, so the fact that it's top of the class in almost all aspects that truly matter is no big surprise. One of these areas is artificial intelligence. Enemies in ARMA 3 truly pose a real threat. Even if you're hundreds of meters away from enemy soldiers, the danger of getting shot clean in the head is always real. Enemies position themselves smartly, and predicting their movement patterns is usually easier said than done. What also makes the AI in ARMA 3 so great is the fact that it's completely customizable, thanks to a large selection of player-made mods. Condemned Criminal Origins. Condemned Criminal Origins was a game that could make you jump right out of your seat at any given moment. Its brand of psychological horror was quite unique, and it blended perfectly with the way its gameplay was tailored as well, and the AI specifically added to that a great deal as well. There were instances where the enemy noted you, but still didn't come at you directly, rather choosing to jump about in zigzag, unpredictable motions, making it impossible for you to predict their next move or attack. It was behaviors and moments like these that made for some truly intense, edge-of-the-seat moments that made Condemned as good as it was. The Forest. An incredible and highly unusual game is what best describes The Forest. It's truly nothing like you've ever experienced before, encouraging you to make an open-world survival experience that is truly your own, completely unscripted. And it has some excellent fundamental systems to back that strong concept, one such system being the incredible AI. Enemies in the forest know how to operate in a team, and they will truly try everything you can imagine to bring you down. They try distracting you, flanking you, sneaking up on you. The enemies in this game are frighteningly capable, and that ultimately adds a great deal to the atmosphere of the game. Hello Neighbor. Hello Neighbor is a game that's currently still in alpha, but it has a truly unique and interesting concept. The game essentially has you sneaking into your neighbors' houses, but what makes it so special is the fact that the AI is self-learning. That's a phrase that's often thrown around, but one that really does apply to this game. The AI learns from every single move that you make, making it truly reactive and adaptable, so that the player is always on their toes in an engaging, immersive experience. Left 4 Dead 2. The AI director system used in both Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 is quite well known among Valve fans, and for good reasons. In the first Left 4 Dead, it proved to be a successful experiment, and Valve perfected it with the sequel. Enemies in Left 4 Dead 2 don't spawn randomly. Rather, they do so on the basis of players' skills and capabilities, the situation the players find themselves in, the location the players are in, and other such elements, resulting in vastly different encounters even in similar situations and same missions. This dynamic AI not only promotes replays, but also makes for some truly immersive encounters. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.